Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I hope you're doing well. Right then, let's get straight into it. I mentioned it on the show last night, cracking show last night by the way. Paul Pogba is what we're going to be talking about, but also Donny Vanderbik, Jesse Lingard and the situation around the midfield at Manchester United. Obviously we're going into a big international break. I can't promise there's not going to be big developments about what I'm going to discuss. But definitely I've spoken to somebody this morning and got it, well, I say verified, spoke to somebody else as well about the situation with Manchester United. Now, there was a story coming out last night, you might have seen it, that Manchester United want Paul Pogba's future resolved around Christmas. As I said last night, and I sort of dropped the hint in there that obviously Paul Pogba was dropped for the game against, Everton. But, yes, he was dropped for the game against Everton. And the feeling, I'll tell you what I've been told. The reality is, Paul Pogba's not going to sign a new contract at Manchester United. He's not going to do it. Not even because he's fallen out with Solskjaer, but basically because Manchester United's season has not started off particularly well. Paul Pogba doesn't have a clear path in that team, a clear vision of what his position is in that team. And he's been here for, how many years has he been here now? Is this year 6 or is it year 7? So he is out of contract and can talk to any club in Europe, apart from Premier League clubs, from January. Manchester United want to sign him a new contract. As we know from Fabrizio, there is a contract on the table. But as of right here, right now, Paul Pogba will not be signing that new contract and will leave Manchester United. Basically because the club is not heading in the direction he would want it to head into. Not about money. It might. What I was told is, it could be about money. You know, it could be that even if United were challenging for the title, he still might not sign the contract. But as we are at the moment, he cannot see why he would sign a new contract at Manchester United because there is so lack of clarity around the club again. You know, it's not a stable atmosphere again. He's seen Mourinho go, he's seen Oli come in, and now we can see that there is instability again. But more importantly, this is his last contract. At 28, heading towards 29, if he signs another contract at United, he'll be here for nearly 10 years by the time that contract's over. His plan was never to come to United and do a 10-year stint. His plan was to come to Manchester United, hopefully win things, and as a Raiola client, you then move on to Real Madrid or somewhere else. So he stayed here longer for various reasons than he expected. And whilst he wouldn't be opposed to signing a new deal if this Ronaldo, Varane and Sancho thing had worked, and it still could work, at the moment it's not working. At the moment it is very unclear how it's supposed to work, and it's very unclear what his role is. He was not happy with being subbed off on Wednesday night. You could see it anyway, but it's well known that Pogba wasn't happy. But no professional footballer would be happy with being taken off in a game that you're losing where you want to try and win that game. He didn't like that. For someone like Paul Pogba, who is, he's his own biggest critic, but his own biggest believer as well in his talent. He's a World Cup winner. He's won titles. He believes his name belongs on the big stage. He doesn't appreciate being sat on the bench for McTominay and Fred. He doesn't appreciate, being taken off when others are staying on the pitch. That would be the same with a whole host of players. But this is a player that we're trying to get to sign a new contract. But the treatment doesn't match the desire to get him to sign a new contract. The big issue with Pogba is, and we've discussed this ourselves, is that where is Paul Pogba's place in that team? Where is it? We've seen him start in a lot of games until obviously the game against Everton and being taken off against Villarreal. But where is Pogba's position in that team? He's only been on the left because Rashford's injured. If Rashford had been fit this season, would Rashford have been benched for Pogba on the left? Unlikely. Would he be on the right and you bench Greenwood? Maybe. Would he be in the midfield and he doesn't play McTominay and Fred? Unlikely. Would he bench Bruno for Pogba? Unlikely. So you got this player who United have got this contract on the table for, and you almost feel like saying, well, look, I like Pogba. Some of you do like Pogba. Some of you don't like Pogba. But if I'm looking at this as a Pogba fan, why are we offering him 400k a week or whatever it is we're offering him for a new contract? Is that not just bad business? As much as I like Pogba, I have to look at who's managing the club. Why would you offer Pogba such a big contract and make him one of the best paid players in the club when he doesn't have a designated place in the team? But that's Manchester United for you. Shirt sales, merchandising, marketing. That's Manchester United. That's the board. Let's keep Pogba. He's a great asset at the club. Where's he playing in that club? Where's his position in that club? Because for me, you've got Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got Bruno Fernandes, Mason Greenwood, Marcus Rashford, Rafael Varane, David De Gea. You've got some fantastic players in that team. I'm not saying build the team around Paul Pogba, but what I am saying is, and we've seen it before, Bruno is the 10 and Pogba is the 8, or even Bruno is the 8 and Pogba is the 10, swapping around. Centrally is where Paul Pogba belongs. But we haven't got the 6 to play with him. And Paul Pogba ain't blind. You know, he's got probably one of the most ruthless agents in the world in Mino Raiola. Mino Raiola wants Paul Pogba to be thinking about leaving Man United. Because even if he's not thinking about leaving Man United, Raiola wants him to think about it, because you generate more money for your client and you generate more money for yourself. If Pogba's open to Real Madrid and he's open to PSG and he's open to Barcelona and he's open to a Premier League club, then suddenly Man United's offer of 400k a week is a good offer, but in January no one's got to pay a transfer fee for him and they might give him 500k a week, in which case you go, Paul, this club will give you 500k a week. Well, I'm really happy at United. Okay, I'll go back to United. This club's going to give him 500k a week. You're going to up your price. They want all that to happen from a financial point of view. But right here, right now, the conversation I've had, and I've spoken to somebody else as well, is that Paul Pogba, he ain't signing a new contract at United. And this story that United want it resolved by Christmas is probably just Manchester United trying to position themselves that they're playing a bit of hardball, because actually they've got no power play at all. You know, if you don't sign the new contract by Christmas, we're removing it and you can go. Well, to be honest with you, I wouldn't sign the contract. Would you sign the contract? So, look, very interesting about Paul Pogba. And the reason it's interesting is we've already seen him dropped. Is it to do with his contract? I don't think so. I don't know what it's to do with, but what I was told is watch this space with Paul Pogba, because there might be something coming out on the international break anyway. You know, there has been things come out on international breaks before, but also watch this space with Paul Pogba after the international break. How many games is he going to start and where is he going to start? Considering, like McTominay, like Greenwood, Rashford is key to Ollie's plans. He loves Rashford and he wants him in the team, and he feels that Rashford is going to be the spark after the international break. And he might be right. He might be right. Where's Pogba's place going to be in the team then? If he's going to persist with McTominay and Fred and Rashford's coming back in, you've got Greenwood and Sancho fighting for the right position, you've got Cavani and Ronaldo for the top, and Bruno in the 10. Where is Pogba's position? Are we going to see less and less of Pogba? I don't know. So it's a volatile situation. It could be calmed very quickly, but watch this space. The next player I want to talk about is Donny Vanderbik. So Donnie Vanderbik will be leaving Manchester United in January. Effectively, he's disgusted with the situation at Manchester United. He feels like he's been misused. He feels like his career is being wasted, and he feels like Ollie hasn't delivered. Not on promises, that's the wrong word, but Ollie hasn't delivered on the work that Donny's put in. I.e., Donny Vanderbik came back from the summer, fitter, bigger, focused, wanted a chance, not been given the chance. And also that frustration is there because he's watched the games like we have. He knows this is not the dream start. I think it's always disappointing as a professional footballer when you're not playing, but if we had 21 points or 18 points from our first 21 and we were playing brilliant football, it'd be frustrating waiting for your chance, but you'd sort of have to put up with it. But in the situation Donny's in, he's watched Fred play bad football and cost us games. He's watched McTominay be injured or not played that well. Even Bruno has had games where he's been wasteful, and yet Donny's never been given a chance. So Vanderbik wanted to go to Everton. United blocked it. The hope is that he will be allowed to go in January, but what I was told is United might block it again. The sad thing for Vanderbik is that he wants to play for Manchester United. He wants to be given an opportunity. Everybody knows that. He's been a professional. But it's impossible for him to break into that team. You know, when he does get a chance in a Carabao Cup game and he does well, he doesn't get a game. He can't build a future at Manchester United because Solskjaer doesn't want him to build a future at Manchester United, and he just won't give him a chance. And his only chance is going to be if Solskjaer sort of goes a full 360 on his opinion and completely changes, which is not expected. He didn't play football from March 2020 because the Dutch league shut down. It didn't come back after COVID. He joined United in the August. So effectively, by the time he plays any first team football again, it'll be nearly 2 years. And that's if they let him go in January. If they don't let him go until the summer, it'll be nearly 2.5 years he's played first team football, which is a massive waste of a career. It's the worst thing. It's probably, I was speaking to somebody a few days ago, and they said to me, Ajax privately will be disgusted with this because they're very proud of their players when they move to other clubs because that's what they are. They accept their place in European football. They want to be competitive. They'd love to win another European Cup, but they realise in the modern game it's very difficult for Ajax to do that. So they're very proud when players go and play for other clubs, whether it's Bergkamp or whatever, and from many years ago, obviously. So they were very proud when Donny went to Manchester United, but privately they will be furious with what's happened to him because his career has been, nullified basically. And he could have gone to other clubs. He could have stayed at Ajax for another year, and he went to Manchester United for a decent fee as a Dutch international, and basically has had 2 years of his career wiped away. And the scary thing is that could be his career gone. He might never recover from this. The belief is that he will, and he's desperate to do it. And look, from Vanderbik, he would go tomorrow and put a Barcelona shirt on, a Real Madrid shirt on, an Everton shirt on, a Norwich shirt on. He'd go anywhere to play football, which is sad because he wants to play for us, but it's whether he'll be allowed to go. And there's no guarantee he'll be allowed to go in January, but the belief is that he will absolutely kick up a fuss to get a move. So that's another one to be interested about. The third one I want to talk about is Jesse Lingard. Now, Lingard has sort of been forgotten because he's not Paul Pogba, he's not Donny Vanderbik, he's not Bruno Fernandes. But in fairness to Lingard, many of you were talking about this. And we're going to talk about the midfield situation. This is 4 big developments really this morning. So the Jesse Lingard situation is this. Jesse Lingard, much the same as, it's different to Pogba. I don't think Pogba's desperate to stay at United. Far from it. I don't think Pogba's desperate to stay at United. Donny's desperate to be given a chance because this is where he wants to do it. And Lingard's desperate to stay at Manchester United, but he wants to be part of that first team. Now, the interesting thing with Lingard is that he comes on against West Ham. He does score the winner. De Gea's save basically wins us the game, but Lingard came on and scored a goal. He comes on against Villarreal, and he's involved for the goal that Ronaldo does. We play at Everton at the weekend. He might have been thinking he was going to start. He doesn't start the game, but because, look, you could predict every sub that was going to happen. Ronaldo comes on, Sancho comes on, and Pogba's the third sub. Matic, Lingard, Van der Beek, anybody else, they never had a bloody chance. They never had a chance of coming on. In fact, I would guarantee Ronaldo was promised he'd play at least 35 minutes in that game because he was on in next to no time after half-time. So, from Lingard's point of view, he's desperate to stay at United, and he knows his worth. He knows his worth, and he believes that he should be part of that United team. He believes he should be playing first team football. Now, I would say, I don't know about you, I don't think that Jesse Lingard should be a first team player for United. I think he's a very good bench option, and I'll always be consistent. I think when Jesse... Look, remember last season? We started the season last year. We didn't do particularly well at the start of last season. We started to click into gear from November sort of time and through till... whenever. But we didn't start the season particularly well. Ollie was in trouble, actually. And Lingard was fit from the start of last season. Certainly was fit for a long time between the start of the season and Christmas. And Ollie never used him. I remember being on the show and many of you would say, why is he not using Lingard? And he wouldn't use him. And then, obviously, in January, Lingard goes, look, I need first team football. I'm off to West Ham, and United let him do it. Goes to West Ham, he's fantastic. Comes back to United in the summer, and I think most United fans, to be fair, were like, let him go. He won Premier League Player of the Month. He's got back in the England squad. Let him go. And he didn't want to go. And United didn't push him to go. But he's now in a situation where he's still part of the England team, but despite scoring against West Ham, despite making a difference off the bench against Villarreal, he's watching United at Old Trafford play Everton. He doesn't start the game. We don't win the game. And he doesn't come off the bench. And Lingard is now falling into that category where, look, yeah, he's definitely ahead of a Van der Beek, but he's not ahead of a Pogba. who's also on the bench. He's not ahead of a Sancho, who's also on the bench. And Rashford's about to come back. Lingard has got 1 year left on his deal, and United are trying to get him to sign a deal. And what I was told this morning is that the question is, will Lingard sign a deal in a situation where once he's signed it, he's stuck if it doesn't work? He'll lose his place in the England squad and he won't play much first team football. And that's a difficult dilemma for Jesse. So look, I don't think Jesse's going to get the headlines of the Pogba situation we've discussed or the Vanderbik situation. But don't be so sure that Lingard's not thinking about whether he should sign a contract. United think he's going to sign a contract. Lingard wants to sign a contract. But he didn't play against Everton yesterday either. And when Rashford comes back, is Lingard going to be happy playing 20 minutes here and there? Considering he's got to keep Cavani happy this year. He's got to keep Sancho happy this year. He's got to keep Greenwood developing this year. He's got Rashford back. It's a very difficult thing. And look, to be honest, my opinion on it, if I was advising Jesse, I'd say, how important is it for you to stay in the Manchester area? Is it because of family reasons? Is it because you love the club? Because ultimately, footballing reasons, you'd be a first team player for Everton. You'd be a first team player for Leicester. You'd be a first team player for West Ham. I can't see how you'll ever be a first team player for United. Even if you played out of your skin and had 2 or 3 really brilliant games, I think as soon as you drop off again, you will be replaced because Bruno's better, Pogba's better, Sancho's a better player, Greenwood's a better player, Rashford's a better player. You're a really good player, Jesse, but is Sancho going to play for West Ham? No. Is he going to play for Everton? No. Is he going to play for Leicester? No. You would, and you'd be one of their best players. And I think that's where you should be. But if you're desperate to stay at United, sign the deal, mate. But I think you're always going to be a bit of a bit part player. And if you're comfortable with that, that's great. But you might lose your England squad. So it's a difficult choice for Jesse, who will be disappointed from not being involved yesterday. But, you know, watch this space with those 3 players. And then the other thing I want to talk to you about was the midfield situation. Because I think that, look, I don't think anybody's thinking this, but the midfield situation, we keep getting linked to Declan Rice or Tchouaméni or whatever. So I've heard this before, but I was talking about this anyway. The midfield situation with United from the summer is this. It was a nice to have, it was never a want. And effectively, United were never seriously in for anybody. The Camavinga links were a bit of an interest. And look at what Camavinga's doing at Real Madrid, by the way. You know, we would have loved him at United. But there was never any serious attempt to get anybody. They were very focused on Sancho. They were very focused on Varane. They would like to have bought Trippier, and they got the forward in the end, which was Ronaldo. But the centre midfielder, the number 6, whether it was a number 6, United were like, that is something that we're looking at, but it certainly wasn't a plan for the summer. It was never in their top 3 priorities. It was probably never even in their top 4. So Manchester United never seriously went for a midfielder, despite what the fans wanted, and I certainly wanted it. This was not something that Solskjaer sat there at the end of the transfer window and went, oh my God, I didn't get what I wanted. He didn't want one. Not to the extent that he wanted Sancho or Varane or even Trippier or Ronaldo. So when you're looking for excuses this season about why United are failing, you can't sit there like last year and basically say, well, he didn't get Sancho and he wanted him. He didn't get a centre-back and he wanted him. Ollie got what he wanted in the summer and then some. He wasn't expecting Ronaldo. He was very happy with Sancho and Varane. He wasn't expecting Ronaldo and he got him. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was over the moon. He's like a kid at Christmas when he's got everything he wants. You know, over the moon. But if any fan is out there thinking, well, he didn't get what he needed, he didn't get a midfielder, it wasn't a priority from Ollie and we didn't get one. Which I suppose actually does make a lot of sense, because if you go, well, look, let's keep it topical. We know the evidence is there, but if you think about it, on a personal, and some people, I'm sure many of you will agree with me on this one, on a personal, I wanted a centre defensive midfielder because I know the only good one we've got is Matic. And from what I was told last season, and I can't see how it's changed, the reason Matic hardly played last season and McTominay and Fred did is because Ollie doesn't think Matic is up to it anymore. He doesn't think he's physically up to it. Which begs the question why we kept him in the first place, but effectively, you know, I wanted us to buy a CDM in the summer because, as I understood it, Matic can't play anymore to the level we want him to play. So I would buy a CDM because I don't rate McTominay and Fred in that position, and I certainly don't think Pogba or Donny can do it. So I wanted us to buy a specialist number 6. And I think that's been, unfortunately, borne out this season effectively well as well, because we desperately do need a number 6. But when you look at the season the way it's gone, and you look at last season, that personal opinion, and the one that you might have as well, is not the one of the coaching setup or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because most of last season he always went with McTominay and Fred, and this season he's gone with McTominay and Fred. So the reason we wanted a number 6 and felt, you know, for me it was that I said it in May, my number one priority this summer is a CDM. We didn't even buy one. We bought some fantastic players, but we didn't buy a CDM. But from Solskjaer's point of view, when you hear that we didn't want one, and I think we can all establish that as the fact, when you try and work out why you didn't want one, I suppose the truth was always staring us in the face. I wanted one because Matic clearly, in Ollie's eyes, isn't up to it anymore, so you buy a new one. But in Ollie's eyes, from last season and this season, he doesn't see Matic as his as a number first choice anyway. He sees Matic as a guy that can probably do a job for him if he really needs him to, but he's not a first choicer. As has been proved with the Everton game and every other bloody game this season, unfortunately, he sees McTominay and Fred as his first choice. This is a guy that's benching Donny, Matic and Pogba to pick McTominay and Fred. Well, why would he want to buy a CDM when he's got McTominay and Fred, and then he's got Matic, Pogba and Donny? He's got 5 options for 2 positions. So I suppose when you look at it like that, of course he never wanted a midfielder, because he thinks he's got what he needs. The problem is, I look at it, and maybe some of you look at it, and maybe some ex-players look at it, and maybe the media look at it, and some other club fans look at it and go, that midfield's crap. But in Ollie's mind and his coach's mind, they're like, we don't need to buy a midfielder. Look, I've got loads of options. So people, and where I'm going here is, there is this thing that, we didn't manage to buy the holding midfielder this summer, so we'll definitely do it next summer. And look, we might do it. I think there is definitely an admiration for people like Declan Rice. But it's not an obsession, it's not a priority, and it might not be next summer. The only reason it might be next summer is because Pogba, going back to the start of the video, Pogba will probably go, so you need to replace Pogba, and Donny will probably go, so you need to replace him. And Matic will probably retire. So the funny thing is, in a very perverse way, in a footballing sense, is that I would pick Donny, Matic and Pogba before I'd even consider Fred and McTominay. Ollie doesn't, and then next summer he'll probably lose Pogba, Matic and Donny, but we'll still have McTominay and Fred, regardless of who we buy. So, you know, that midfield situation is not really one that I think we can, you can moan about it. Of course you can, because for me it's the biggest, weakest area. But to Ollie, he never saw that as a significant weak area in the summer. And I said this a few weeks ago, and I'll say it here again. I think that midfield area is going to be an even weaker midfield area this time next year. Because if Pogba goes and Donny goes and Matic goes, and you bring Garner back, and even if you buy 2, so maybe we get Tielemans and Rice. Is Tielemans, Rice, McTominay, Fred and Garner better than Matic, Pogba, Donny, McFred? Could be. Depends if who he's gonna pick of his midfield too. I don't know. But look, it's a very interesting situation. And look, I know we're just about to hit the start of the international break, and there's going to be lots of conversations going on. But as I said, I sort of hinted it on the last night's show. Had a couple of conversations, and certainly with Pogba, this United want him to sign a new deal by Christmas. Absolutely not going to happen from Pogba's side anytime soon. and unlikely he would go anywhere near that contract anyway, because he's not just about the money. If he was about the money, he wouldn't sign the contract with United anyway. And if he's going to sign with United, that's basically his last big contract. And he looks at the situation at United and goes, where's the progression again? Even with the great players we've brought in, where's the progression? Where's the stability? And where's my place in this team? Which, to be honest with you, is a fair point. Donny, look, he's approaching 2 years with no first team football at this football club in January. Will Ollie let him go? He's desperate to go. Will Ollie play him? I doubt it. So that's very interesting as well, as I said with Jesse. But look, it's interesting. We spoke about it last night. I mean, do check out last night's show. The situation is really interesting at United. I wouldn't say it's a good situation, but it's a very interesting situation. Difficult fixtures to come. Lots and lots of players. You know, Martial scored a goal yesterday. Will he play again anytime soon? He came off with an injury, he scored a goal. You'd think that he's in consideration for Leicester. He's got no bloody chance, has he? You know, so lots and lots of players, lots and lots of issues. I mean, look, I've not heard this from anybody, but I would say this. He's had a bad start to the season. He's got too many players to keep happy. There's no fluidity in the team. He ain't Pep Guardiola or Klopp. Has Ollie ever been in a situation like this before, where the demand is to challenge for a title and he's got so many talented players he doesn't know what to do with? I heard somebody on about this actually. It reminds them of Lampard last year. He's won the transfer window, but now he can't get them to play and he doesn't know what his best 11 is. Now, I'm not saying this is going to head the same way as Lampard, but it's an interesting one. Lampard had clearly never been in that position before and he sunk. Ollie's never been in this situation before and he's got some very, very big players to keep happy. And at the moment, and I think it will always be the case, some of those players are starting to be a little bit unhappy. So let's see how it develops. But you know what? Ollie is a sort of manager that can come through these sort of situations. He's done it before, so we'll have to wait and see. But look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe as ever. You're very, very welcome for watching. We have got the show at 8 o'clock tonight. Big game as well, Man City against Liverpool today. We are doing a watch along on That's Football, so make sure you tune in for that. And I'll speak to you a little bit later on. But thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.